Hello and a very warm welcome to Front Page, only on the AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. Truly a pleasure to have you all with us. And of course, before we get on with the news and the headlines, I have some very important information, which I'm sure you would be very excited to hear about, which is the fact that Cypher, yes, India's biggest AI summit and expo, as you already know this, is back in its 10th edition, which makes it bigger than ever. And it shall be taking place in October of this year at KTPO, Bengaluru. So, well, if you are very serious about your AI and tech, I'm pretty sure you will be at Cypher 2026. And now, here are the headlines. Taiwan overtook India to become the world's fifth largest stock market, with a market capitalization of $4.95 trillion, driven largely by TSMC's AI-fueled surge. India and the United States signed a strategic critical minerals cooperation framework to secure rare earth and critical mineral supply chains, reducing dependence on single-source suppliers amid growing concerns over China's dominance. As AI automates up to 35% of entry-level tasks, India's IT sector is inverting its traditional pyramid, demanding immediate application building readiness and human-centric meta skills from tech freshers. Joining me for this particular conversation is our very own tech journalist, Ajay Rag. With generative AI flooding platforms and bypassing traditional security, Detective AI CEO Tarini Padmanabhuni discusses building the foundational trust layer to authenticate digital media and stop audio deepfake fraud at scale. So Taiwan, a country with roughly 2.3 crore people, just overtook India, a country with more than 140 crore people, to become the world's fifth largest stock market. Taiwan's stock market is now worth $4.95 trillion. India's stock market stands at $4.92 trillion. A difference of just a few billion dollars, but the story behind those numbers is far bigger than probably the market rankings, because I believe this is about what the world values today and what India still hasn't built. For the first time in history, Taiwan has overtaken India in global stock market capitalization. The rankings now look like this. The United States is at $77.9 trillion. China is at $15.5 trillion. Japan, $8.6 trillion. Hong Kong, $7.2 trillion. Taiwan, $4.95 trillion, and India is at $4.92 trillion. So at first glance, it seems impossible. India's economy is significantly larger. India's population is nearly 60 times bigger. India has more engineers, definitely a lot more startups, consumers, listed companies. So how did Taiwan pull ahead? Well, the answer can be summed up in 4 letters. Here they are: TSMC. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, better known as TSMC. The company now represents more than 42% of Taiwan's benchmark stock index. Nearly half the market's value is actually tied to one company, and that company is at the center of the global AI boom. Every major AI company depends on advanced chips. NVIDIA designs them, AMD designs them for sure. So does Apple and Google. But someone has to manufacture them. That someone is more often than not TSMC. TSMC shares have surged nearly 49% this year. The market is, of course, rewarding one thing, which is control over critical AI infrastructure. The AI revolution is, well, creating $1 trillion winner. And Taiwan happens to own one of the most important choke points in the entire supply chain, which is exactly why capital is flooding into Taiwan. So India's decline isn't so much because investors have stopped believing in India. No, it's actually because global capital is chasing AI, and India currently lacks a globally dominant AI infrastructure company. Since September 2024, Sensex has underperformed, the Nifty has struggled, foreign institutional investors have pulled money out of India. Earnings growth have slowed down. Valuations still remain quite stretched. And then, of course, comes another big challenge in today's day and age: oil. The Iran-Israel conflict has pushed crude prices higher, and that's pretty bad news for an economy which imports most of its energy. Taiwan actually starts to benefit from AI. India gets hit by expensive oil. The market responded, well, logically. So what does India have that the world cannot live without? Taiwan has semiconductors. The United States has AI platforms and cloud infrastructure. China, of course, has manufacturing scale. So India's equivalent today is, I believe, IT services, which is, we are incredibly strong in that, banking, telecom, digital payments, consumer markets, startups. But none of these sectors currently dominate a critical global supply chain the way semiconductors do. And I feel that is the huge distinction that is making this figure, well, speak the way it is. Now, for years, people have argued that demographics are destiny. Population automatically translates into economic power. Taiwan, I believe, has disproved that theory completely. Taiwan has fewer people than, well, wait for it, Haryana. Yes, its actual stock market is now larger than India's. Because markets don't reward population, markets actually start to reward leverage. And right now, semiconductors have extraordinary leverage. One advanced chip can power an AI model serving millions of users. One semiconductor, for that matter, company can become more valuable than entire industries. One strategic technology can reshape global capital flows. So the story isn't that India is losing. The story is more so about that the AI era is creating a new scoreboard. And the countries winning that scoreboard are building foundational technologies. India has already started moving, for sure, which is a great thing. Semiconductor incentives are there, chip manufacturing projects, design centers, AI infrastructure investments. So companies like Tata Electronics, Micron, Applied Materials, Lam Research, and others are making bets on India. Well, recently, PM Modi also said that India is building a complete semiconductor supply chain with 10 major chip projects underway to make India a global manufacturing hub. But building a TSMC equivalent doesn't happen overnight. We are aware of that. Taiwan has spent decades building that advantage. And of course, very recently, this is, of course, before I get into the front page take, I have to share this with you, which is the fact that it is very inspirational and aspirational that we've not had any OSAT facilities, or for that matter, semiconductor manufacturing space is seeing the kind of encouragement and the kind of investments and the kind of developments. 4 plants, ladies and gentlemen. The 4th one is going to be opening up really very soon. Yes, at the end of this year, which I think is quite remarkable. Anyway, here is the front page take. Taiwan became the world's 5th largest stock market because it built something the world desperately needs. I feel that's where global capital goes. That's where trillion-dollar opportunities start to emerge. And that's, I feel, the challenge also India now faces. The next phase of India's growth won't really come from being the world's largest population. No, I think that is passé. It will come from building technologies the rest of the world cannot function without. Because in the age of AI, the future belongs not to the countries with the most people. We've seen that happen in the IT model, but to the countries that build the most critical technologies. Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Our smartphones, EVs, even fighter jets, or for that matter, an AI data center, solar power panel, all of them depend on a handful of minerals that most people have never heard of. And here is the list of those. Lithium, cobalt, graphite, rare earths. Well, you've heard of a few. And for years, one country has controlled the world's supply chain, which is China. Now, India and the United States have just signed a deal designed to change that. And this could become one of the most important geopolitical agreements of the AI era. Here is now the details of that. India and the United States have signed a strategic critical minerals cooperation framework. The agreement covers the mining, processing, recycling, financing, and supply of critical minerals and rare earth elements. The framework was signed in New Delhi on the sidelines of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. When we talk about the rare earths, despite the name, they aren't actually rare. The problem is actually processing them. And China dominates that business remarkably well. Today, China controls a massive share of the world's rare earth processing and refining capacity. Many advanced technologies rely on these materials. AI servers, to name a few, semiconductors, electric vehicles, wind turbines, missile guidance systems, military radars, consumer electronics. Wow, it's quite a gamut. The modern economy runs on critical minerals, clearly. And if one country controls the supply, well, it gains enormous leverage over everyone else, which is exactly what Washington and New Delhi are trying to, well, break and avoid. When we actually get into what Marco Rubio had to say, he called critical minerals a strategic issue because innovation economies cannot afford to leave foundational materials vulnerable to single source monopolies, which I feel was not subtle at all. It's quite direct as a reference to China. The agreement explicitly talks about reducing dependence on monopolies, which could use supply chains as leverage. So in other words, the world's largest democracy and the world's most powerful economy are now working together to reduce critical mineral dependence on China. The United States is, I feel, not just signing paperwork here. Washington says it is mobilizing more than $30 billion through investments, loans, financing support, and letters of interest for critical mineral projects. $30 billion, which are targeted towards securing supply chains. India brings something very unique to this partnership, which is scale, manufacturing ambitions, growing demand, strategic geography, and increasingly political alignment with countries trying to diversify supply chains away from China. For India, this agreement supports several national priorities simultaneously: energy security, electronics manufacturing, semiconductor ambitions, electric vehicles, defense modernization, and AI infrastructure. Every one of these sectors that I just listed out depends on reliable access to critical minerals. And it feels like it's not stopping at India and the United States. The Quad nations are also launching a broader critical minerals framework, which means India, United States, Japan, Australia, all coordinating investments and economic policies around critical mineral supply chains, which creates something China hasn't faced before: a coordinated resource strategy among multi-major economies. For decades, geopolitics has revolved around oil. Today, the conversation, I believe, is changing. Lithium is strategic, rare earths definitely are, and so is graphite. Processing capacity is more than that. It is actually the core of it in terms of the strategy. The countries that secure these supply chains will have a very significant advantage in AI, semiconductors, clean energy, and defense. And honestly, that's why this deal matters. And here, of course, is the front page take. The world is slowly kind of splitting into trusted supply chain networks. Not because globalization is ending, far from it, but actually because governments no longer want critical technologies dependent on a single country. We've already seen this happen in semiconductors. Also, we've seen it happen in AI infrastructure. And now we're seeing it happen in critical minerals. So this India-US agreement is another piece of that very puzzle, a signal that the next chapter of global competition will be fought, not just in AI labs and chip factories, but across mines, refineries, and supply chains. Please do let us know, what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. So in 2013, knowing one programming language reasonably well was enough to get through most campus placements at India's top IT companies. In 2026, the first round of interviews at those same companies is a complex application to build in just 24 hours. The door looks the same, but you know what? The door is now completely different. Ajay Rag, who's joining me today on Front Page, is our very own tech journalist at AIM, and he's been tracking this in terms of the shift. What actually does it mean for the millions of engineering graduates India produces every year? And most importantly, are they fully prepared or are they fully aware of these changes which have taken place, and how will it affect their journey ahead? Welcome to Front Page. How are you doing?
It's great. I'm doing well.
Pleasure to have you with us, Ajay. And the first thing, I actually want to start with this because I think that's most important for us to understand what is the heart of this story. So, like I mentioned, there used to be graduates who used to be hired. Then there would be extensive training programs which would be set up by these IT companies internally for these graduates. Both the sides kind of understood and accepted that kind of bargain, that we'll be trained and then our skill sets would be a lot more curated towards, let's say, the workflows of the organization, etc.
Yeah.
Things apparently have changed dramatically now. The IT companies have, in a way, pivoted or are not probably holding that kind of extensive programs essentially, or you'll probably be able to shed more light on that. Or maybe their wants and needs or expectations have gone up. But more importantly, have these engineers, these graduates, are they aware of this very significant change which has taken place?
Yeah, that's very interesting observation. So, if you look at the way the IT firms have been, following for a very long time, the idea was that, like you pointed out, hiring a large number of people from colleges and then training them for like months. The bench strength is something that, actually attract a lot of deals for these kind of IT firms.
Correct.
But right now, I mean, how the generative AI sort of significantly reshaped the whole strategy of these companies, where the skill sets that were, considered very important, like code generation, all these kind of, or handling agentic workflows, these kind of skills have become very basic now, that companies are looking for more skills from people, more interpersonal skills and things like that come into picture. Because, I mean, when you look at these companies, they have been following the same pattern, like we pointed out, like hiring a lot of people and all these things. But now, all these companies have a different way of looking at it. And when you asked about the awareness of students or academic institutions, it's very concerning, because when I spoke to Soumitra Mishra, who heads the academics at Newton School of Technology, which helps engineering institutions in hiring talent and everything. The idea was that institutions does not have a sense yet, like what kind of talent. So the problem is that the curriculum is not following the industry need at this point, which is very concerning, because lakhs of people who are passing out from school, from colleges, and they won't be getting hired. Like, they don't have the enough skill set that is required for the industry right now.
Probably not even aware enough, Ajay, to be honest.
Yeah.
The awareness is also
lacking. It's very concerning, because we don't know what to do with this talent coming out of colleges.
But you mentioned bench strength, right?
Yeah.
Which used to be something that big IT companies would pride themselves on. And that would also be something as a model which would attract a lot more new contracts, new work, new business.
Fair? Yeah.
That stuck out at me, because now that is changing. It is established that bench strength, that so-called method, is no longer very relevant, and it is changing, right? So accordingly, is that what is motivating and guiding this entire initiative from big IT companies, where they're saying now, okay, we want a new graduate coming in who needs to be armed with so much more. Is it that, or is it just something else?
Yeah, it's exactly that with AI coming into the picture, the AI assisted coding and all these things coming into picture, people have become more talented, like in terms of the skills that they have. So if someone is lacking that, like if someone is not able to get up to the mark, then the whole competition layer increases, like from a backbencher in a IT, from a engineering background school, who's coming to a company and then planning to get their skills, enhance their skills, that's going to happen. Because I think this has become an industry phenomenon, that companies as well as the colleges or the industries, everyone has recognized that okay, this is the new norm where people who are freshers should have some kind of capabilities before coming into the picture. Because the idea initially was that, like let's say a TCS or Infosys,
Right.
they will hire people not even from software background, like who has not even done software engineering. I mean, I have met people who have been hired from mechanical engineering and coming into TCS, Infosys, larger IT firms, and then they get trained. Now companies are saying we don't have the time to do it, and we don't have the headcount, bandwidth to do it. I mean, that has significantly changed, but I think the Indian academic institutions yet to be catch up.
But okay, tell me this then. I mean, logically speaking, even if there is, as per this new sort of a avatar that is we are seeing, why wouldn't the big IT companies communicate this to the institution? I'm not understanding that, because it's not like fair. I mean, the need will be there for it might be coming down. Headcount might be coming down. But honestly speaking, would it not help for their further kind of corridors to at least have that sense of information flowing back to the institutions, education institutions, that okay, this is a change which has happened. Now we need this kind of talent coming in. It is only going to help them, no? Then why has that?
The communication is happening where we have only reported about multiple partnerships between IT firms and larger education institutions. That's happening. But
why I asked is, you said that you spoke to this expert and they were not aware or whatever. That's why I asked.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So the academic institutions, the curriculum has been been followed for a very long time, and rapidly changing that curriculum is not very easy, because the professors who are teaching them, the resources that they have, all these things cannot be changed overnight. So that's a long due process. But the problem here is that when this is lagging, if the industry is going at a rapid pace, then it will be very difficult for the students to catch up.
True.
So I think actions are happening, but the experts that I spoke to is saying that the actions should be done quicker
at the same
pace of where the industry is moving right now.
Which brings me to this. Since you mentioned actions, here's something which I want to read out to you, which is this 30 to 35% entry roles which have been automated. Now, Team Lease Digital, right? They project AI will automate 30 to 35% of entry-level IT tasks. Okay, this is the statement they've made. Now, do you feel this is like almost like a cliffhanger for the newer people coming in, or for that matter, the graduate entering the industry today? What is the honest picture of what are they now walking into?
No, it's more of a narrow staircase where people, the number of people required will be less. But also I want to point out one more number that Team Lease Digital has shared, which is that only 15 out of this 30 to 35% that I mentioned, only 15 to 20% will be gone. The jobs will be gone. Still, we need other 15 to 20% still is required, though the jobs are getting automated. So I think people with better skills, people who can.
When you say better skills, Ajay, I mean, you've mentioned you met with a few experts, etc.
Yeah.
What are the experts saying? When we say better skills, define that. What are they defining it as?
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation. So, I mean, the whole concept of, like when you think about an engineer, he's someone who sits at the back end and doing his work and leaving.
Sure.
I think that concept has significantly changed when we have spoken about forward deployed engineers who works with the clients and everything. So I'll read out some of the skills that the people have been talking about.
Yeah.
Like people broadly put it in meta skills. Meta skills basically all these problem solving, system thinking, judgment, debugging, communication with clients, what their requirements are. So it's more like, engineers are becoming more front-end, contributors to the overall thing. So I think on top of all these AI asset coding, all these, also this manual testing, all these things are gone. So whatever skills the industry requires are these, all these understanding business workflows, all these things will come into picture. And the whole concept of engineer being a back-end guy will be significantly changed.
Transformed.
Yeah, transformed, yeah.
I have very quickly 2 questions, which I would like for us to then now summarize our conversation with.
Yeah.
First one is this: bench training under pressure, which is from both ends. Now, this I thought was something that jumped out at me. The 6-month bench program honestly was never really so much about just training, right? Because it was, and this is what your article says, it was also about headcount guarantees, as you mentioned. Right?
Yeah.
Now, in today's scenario of bench the bench strength starts to thin significantly, which I believe is happening, right? Are we looking at a missing mid-career aspect? Do you feel that might happen?
Yeah, the more concerning thing is that, when we have less number of people getting hired at an entry level, what will happen to the managers of the next generation,
Absolutely.
like next few years? Because like when they're hiring thousands of people, only a few of the fractions of them will eventually become managers,
Absolutely.
senior professionals, and all. So there will be a significant supply gap, for leadership positions in IT firms. I think that is something the industry is also very cautious about. Like, if they're hiring, and also most of the work is being done by AI, AI assisted coding and all these things. So what really will stand out, like who will stand out? And we have multiple IT firms.
Yeah.
So who is going to lead them is a big question to, because the senior to junior ratio has been shrinking very, very much
And
recently.
that's a big gap.
It's a big gap. Again, I think it happens in all other industries also, wherever fresher hiring is sort of getting declined.
Okay, fair. So that's one thing which
Yeah.
probably will be an alarm bell, which I'm pretty sure is already sounding.
Yeah.
Finally, I have to ask you this, Ajay, and I want you to weigh in with probably the expert opinions, with
Sure.
probably whatever you've heard, because this is an important one. What do the graduates do from here on? We've established that the educational institutions are moving, are
Yeah.
trying to make the changes, but as they have voiced their pain area, which is they're not moving at that pace. Fair. I mean, given today's day and age in terms of the way information floats around, I'm pretty sure graduates are kind of aware that, this training program method is no longer there.
Yeah.
But what do you feel? What do the graduates need to do? What are the experts saying?
Yeah, I think students cannot really rely on academic institutions, because there's a lot of resources available outside also. I think they have to upskill themselves. Some of the key areas that they can focus on is to build real world projects. Whatever like they will be building after 6 months of bench training, they have to start doing it before getting into a job. Maintaining GitHub portfolios, or using AI code assistants effectively. All these things, like understanding cloud platforms, APIs, all these things, people will get exposure to once they join the companies as of now. But I think that had to significantly change, where people have to upskill themselves before getting into these jobs. So I think that's what the industry also has been saying.
Fair enough. Well, Ajay, thank you so much. This discussion of ours will obviously keep continuing.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be so many dynamic changes which are constantly going to start taking place. But thank you so much for actually putting out that particular article based on all of your research. Please keep doing the good work, because it brings a lot of awareness, I believe, and impacts a lot of lives who are just starting up their journeys. Thank you so much for being on Front Page. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As per Ajay Rag and his article on the Analytics India magazine, it seems, yes, the IT companies have decided that they are not going to go with the old model in a big way. They are expecting the skills of the people joining in to be, well, far more than what they used to be. But I think most importantly, what needs to definitely happen is the fact that there has to be a fabulous bridge which has to be formed between industry and academia. I think that will pave the road ahead with a lot more clarity, and I feel with a lot more a sense of less anxiety. Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. And please also do let us know if you want us to explore a lot deeper as far as what the road ahead looks like as far as people starting off their journeys are concerned. Because I feel, yes, it's extremely important, and we take it very seriously here in Front Page. And we'll be more than happy to bring whatever that we can as far as our expertise is concerned, from the experts, etc., in terms of what it's looking like. So yes, like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AI. So the internet was built on a foundational assumption that the voice on the other end of the call is actually who it appears to be. That the face in the video is real and the audio recording is evidence of something that actually happened. That particular assumption is, I believe, now structurally false in so many ways. Deezer is receiving over 60,000 fully AI-generated tracks every single day. Sony Music has pulled 135,000 deepfake tracks impersonating Beyonce, Harry Styles, and Queen, and believes that number represents only just a fraction of what exists out there. The first criminal prosecution of AI-based streaming fraud has just concluded in New York. Music is, of course, the story people are reading. Banking fraud, political impersonation, and synthetic evidence in courtrooms are the consequences that actually don't make the entertainment pages. Someone has to build the infrastructure to detect all of it. And before I introduce that someone, here is an image I would like for all of us to see, which will probably highlight what I just spoke about. Sam Altman. Well, the person I was, of course, talking about, Tarini Sai Padmanabhuni, is 21 years old. She has already done TED Talks. She's, by the way, said no to NVIDIA. And she is the one who is building that infrastructure, albeit slowly. But of course, she's taking the steps in the right direction, coming from a motivation which has been something very personal. She is the founder of Detective AI. Welcome
Hi.
to Front Page. And did you think of that name as far as the company is concerned? Let's start there.
Yes, I did.
So sorry, we'll have to start again. Welcome, just welcome Tarini, right? Okay. So should I introduce Tarini and then turn to Tarini or what? Okay, fair. Whenever you. So welcome to Front Page, Tarini. First and foremost, who christened the company?
Christen, the company, I believe that would be me.
Detective AI.
Yes.
What was the inspiration behind that name?
To be honest, it was a very simple thought. We were building models that could detect AI-generated content. And the simplest and the most easiest rememberable name for us was Detective AI.
Absolutely on the nose.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the nose, as simple as it sounds, but that's how we started. So.
But it's not simple in terms of the work that is being done, right? And we will get into a lot of details as far as that is concerned. But first and foremost, Tarini, I want to understand what motivated you to kind of, set this up. What was that instinct that got you thinking on these lines?
So 2 years ago, my grandfather had been affected by a deepfake scam. Somebody called him. It was somebody pretending to be his brother at a very dire situation, and he was forced to wire money out of his bank account, and he did it. And it was so uncanny, the resemblance, that he just happened to wire the money. And at those situations, most people actually tend to do it. You don't believe it, but the stats are very evident. And this was 2 years ago. The level of AI we have today is another level. I mean,
Sure.
we've seen so many advancements. So when that happened, I knew that there was something here to be solved for. For context, I've been in the ML space since I was in grade 6.
Wow.
So I know, I had an insight, I had an intuition that there was something to be solved for here. And that's when I started researching in the space, try to understand from an internal perspective, just on my own, very interested in, is there something to be solved for here? Started looking at it from a technical aspect and eventually built out what is now Detective AI.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Kudos to you on that one. But before I jump into a lot of the other aspects that we will discuss, whether it be music, whether it be images, etc., there are so many articles which keep coming up, which keep highlighting a lot of these things. How does one, let's say, according to your expertise, Tarini, sort through which is real, which is not? Because that's also, in a way, according to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is also riling up a lot of this sentiment, right? So one needs to kind of be cognizant. What is clear, what is not.
Right. I mean, I think as days pass, that border is becoming blurrier and it becomes very difficult. I've been monitoring this space for the longest of times. We've been looking at it from a technical aspect as to creating models to identify differentiating factors. But for the common eye, I think we're almost at a space where people, at least when it comes to voice, which is the space we deal with,
Yes.
there is, in my opinion, no way to actually differentiate between a real voice and an AI voice. We work with voice models all the time. And today I can say with certainty that from a naked ear, you cannot differentiate. And I think that problem is only going to get worse. So while I'm a full advocate for the growth of Gen AI, I'm a technical advocate.
Sure.
I also believe that if we don't take care of this now, then we are going to enter a state of psychosis, collective psychosis, where people can simply not identify whether what they're hearing is real or AI. And while that's one aspect of it, I think the use case is more important, where people are actually being scammed and defrauded for millions of dollars across the world.
Apologies as far as your grandfather is concerned. Truly, I mean, that's just so unfortunate for it to have happened. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
you were saying, but the psychosis, as far as the psychosis is concerned, Tarini, and I think, yes, you hit the nerve on that one. What are the kind of challenges, for example, that you have faced since this entire, from the inception of the company? What were the kind of challenges that you started to face? Because you're saying that, well, increasingly it's becoming a lot tougher to distinguish now.
No, absolutely. And I think, it's definitely a very fast moving space, both from the generative side as well as the detection side. And, we're all technology advocates. At the end of the day, we want the best for the world. But I also believe safety and trust is going to be so important in the next few years. The way I see it is, as days pass, trust is going to be the most important leverage for anybody. And we as a team also very strongly believe that if we can enable that trust for every person with a phone, then we've done our job.
Sure.
And, as for everything in the tech space, especially in AI, it's a very complicated space. It's a very intensive space. But I think, as a team, we're very bullish on this problem statement. A large part of our team has been working on this problem statement for years now. So we're very bullish on this. And we really feel that with time, both generative side and detection side, they're going to keep advancing. And we're in it for the race. We are in it to actually, reach the peak, whatever that might be.
How many people in the team? 1, 2. What made sure that all of you rallied together? I do understand for you it was a very personal incident that obviously inspired you to do something like this. But how many people kind of came together? What was it like? I mean, because funding is something which I believe is extremely crucial for something like this. Talk me through the journey.
Yeah. So it started off with, I was working in the space. I had a deep interest on it. So I was researching, happened to meet my now CTO, who was also researching in this space, and he was very deep into this research. He's from IIT Tirupati. We hit it off really well. We were very aligned on the fact that we want to work on this. So we started working together. And eventually, when I started building in this space, I think around me, everyone knew that I was building here.
Right.
And they knew people who were also working on deepfake detection, individual researchers. So one of our team members, he's been working in this space for the past 5 to 6 years. He's built across different research labs and deepfake detection companies. And, he was very clear that this is what his life goal is. And eventually we gathered a team that is extremely bullish on this problem statement. So I think for a chunk of our team, it's just the fact that, as engineers, I think we have that problem-solving mindset.
For sure.
And every time we see or crack something, we're so elated. And this being arguably one of the toughest problems in the industry,
So true.
I think that drives a lot of researchers on our team, which is like, we're solving such a big problem. And if we crack this, this is insane. And it's a constant, journey.
Sense of
but
achievement.
it's a sense of achievement. And we're always, we love to see us performing great against benchmarks. we were bootstrapped for the longest time.
Sure.
And while we were bootstrapped, just a bunch of us, people working on this problem statement, we were able to top the benchmarks against most open source models available for deepfake detection.
Well done.
And
Could you name a few?
so some
Give
of
a
these,
reference.
right? So most of these like baseline models, we're talking RawNet, we're talking some version of the CME's networks. These are all like baseline models, very cited models, open source models, baseline open source models. So when we saw that, I mean, that was a great sense of achievement for us. We were able to do this as kids who started off in India. Actually, I was in SF very recently.
Recently or at the time?
Very recently when we launched the benchmark publicly. And a lot of people, saw that and they were very, appreciative of that. And in fact, we got our first few investors because of that. So I think, the power of tenacity, just a bunch of people who are bullish on a problem statement that will take you places. And we're all technically, extremely, what do I call it? Like motivated, yes.
And clearly the fact that, it is working. The funding is now starting to pour in. The benchmark is hitting the mark, etc. Now, right, fair enough. Thank you so much for walking me through the journey. But I'd like to now maybe turn your attention to something which is quite scary. The 135,000 deepfake music perspective, if you remember, Tarini, I kind of spoke about that right at the top, right? Now, you're talking about musicians who spend their lives, they put their souls into their music, right? And that's what it's all about. Now, if they are being challenged and they are across the board, so what is the scale of the deepfake problem according to you? Because this is something which is closer. We're talking about something which is music, sound, etc., voice. What is it that is underestimating how far this has already spread? That is something which I want us to understand from you.
I think it's affecting industries across the board right now. You're talking specifically about the entertainment industry. We're clearly seeing, people... Music, yeah, exactly. Music, so very recently we saw this very famous personality from India, Aman Gupta, for example.
Right.
He was talking about how, claiming his whole personality rights. We're seeing more and more celebrities do the same. And the way I see it is people are now becoming cautious of their identity. Their identity is their IP now. And detection also plays a big part of it, because if we are going to be allowing people to monetize their identity, which is what we're seeing happening, how are we actually detecting whether their identity is being used anywhere, either as a real version or a fake version, whatever it is. So there is a whole aspect there where there is monetization of people that want ownership over their identity. There is again the fraud angle, which I just spoke about. The way I see it is pretty much every piece of media that's being consumed today, people are not sure whether
it's real
or not, right? And we're also seeing the other side, which is people using it for their benefit, which is, let's say somebody got caught in a scandal, the video goes out and they're like, okay, that was actually AI, that was not me, those types of scenarios. So we're seeing this insane amount of trustless, I saw this word recently, it's called the dead internet theory. Yes.
Right.
Not sure if you've heard of it, but it's almost like, if everything is not to be trusted, then what's left. of it?
Yeah,
but I believe...
dystopian, but yes.
Very dystopian, but I very strongly believe that we're far from that. And in fact, I believe that we can actually create a very trustworthy world where every consumer on the internet has the power in terms of verifying whether what they're hearing or seeing is actually something that has truth to it or not. And there's multiple ways to it. Deepfake detection is one part of it. And as a team at Detective AI, I think we're looking at how can we solve this problem as a whole, because our goal is very simple. How Dolby was pretty much a qualifier for good quality audio or video. We want to be that. Still is, exactly. We want to be that.
Millions of dollars on that, Tarini.
Exactly.
Still is.
I meant is. That was a mistake. We want to be that, but for trust.
Okay.
So if you have Detective AI on your phone, be rest assured that everything you're consuming from this phone is something you can trust.
I'll get to that. I
Yes.
want you to elaborate in terms of how it works. But before that, I want to ask you this. Since we're talking about the sheer, spread of this across the board, and it's almost like a deep rot which is taking place, right? What do you feel as far as, let's say, the big companies are concerned? Because I mean, these are the ones which are releasing the models, etc., whatever. What do you feel could be a sense of maybe a responsibility, a safeguard that they can bring into the picture? I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud with you because, well, you said no to NVIDIA. So it was a perfect segue as far as that is concerned. And I wanted to understand, why did you take that call?
Right. So I said no to NVIDIA for a job offer,
Okay.
just to make that clear. But, I think 2 points here. Firstly, about, big companies releasing these models, how are they assuring safety or whatever, right? We're looking at Google, for example, which is literally launching the biggest generative models as we
Right.
speak, for image, for video, for text, whatever it may be. Google's taken great ownership over the watermarking aspect of everything that they release. So they have their own methods of detection for any video or photo that's generated by Google. So they have a watermarking mechanism. And I think slowly but surely, different generative companies are following suit, because it becomes important to actually verify source, verify whether this was AI generated or not.
But
That
there are
is-
so many ways to sideline the watermarking that, and we know that. I mean, there's so many ways of doing it, and people do it.
So exactly, there are so many ways, and more importantly, I think more than the closed source models or the models behind a paywall, we're also seeing open source models that people are actually
Yes.
using for this. And these open source models, don't. I mean, they don't have a watermarking
Yes,
system.
exactly.
In fact, most of the scamsters that exist, use open source models. They're much easier to access. They're much it's not even behind a paywall. They can deploy it on their systems. There's a whole other aspect there. But point being, we're looking, even let's say, the biggest generative companies put on watermarking, which is something they're doing. The problem of the larger open source world models that exist, people are still going to be misusing them. And we've seen this forever through time. It continues to exist and it will continue to exist. So that problem is going to be there no matter what is said. And that's the way we look at it, right? How can we tackle the issue of misuse of AI as a whole? And that's where we want to really come in.
Go in.
Yeah.
Talking about misuse, we did something internally in a very responsible manner on a show which is called Debunked. We created my mark sheet because I was a brilliant student. Not really, but I just wanted a little ego boost. Anyway, having said that, we created an Aadhaar card, we created a mark sheet, we did all that. And honestly, Dharani, it was scary. I mean, right, we had a Donald Trump Aadhaar card. We had a Donald Trump selling tomatoes, which is still giving me sleepless nights. But when can you feel, instead of watermarking, I mean, because in a way I feel that is hardly something which is going to stop. Is there a way that we can just stop having this happen? Because the scale at which it can go and spiral is quite crazy.
No, for sure. I think there are obviously guardrails that I meant, that I think a lot of these models that we're talking about, by the ones behind a paywall, the closed source models, like OpenAI, Google, whatever it may be, they do have a lot of guardrails to ensure that the kind of content that's being produced is actually legitimate. In the voice space, however, I still think the guardrails are, they exist, they definitely exist, but it's just a matter of, it's very hard to identify sometimes whether this voice actually belongs to the person or not. Because ideally, it's like only, somebody that's authorized to use that voice can create it. So there is that whole problem. And again, the larger open source world, like, a scammer doesn't even need to use a Google or OpenAI model. They can just use another model that exists, somewhere on Hugging Face.
Correct.
Right? So I think, that's again where we're trying to solve it, because guardrails are one thing, but once it's out there, how are you actually helping in detecting it? And identification is a big part of it.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Established. Now, detective AI, at the end of the day, is something which is arming the larger population with the attackers. Let's put it across like that. So, you guys are the defenders, and this is the ammunition or the overall, army that you've put across through this particular model. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Now, the attackers are constantly growing and the technology is advancing in a big way. So first, I'd like for you to probably just walk us through, if I had to install your model on my phone, would it ensure that I don't end up looking like Freddie Mercury, for example, or I don't end up sounding like somebody, or etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. So, the way we're looking at it, and we also built with these constraints, we were very clear that at the end of the day, the biggest use case for this will be on the phone.
Sure.
Because most people today spend time on the phone, most of their time is on the phone. That's where most of the media is consumed. And, even media is also outputted on the phone. That's something we believe. So what we are trying to do is, we were very clear that we want to build small models that can run on your phone, on edge. And we were very clear about this from the get-go. Today, what we're seeing, even the largest of companies, they are very bullish on small models.
Right.
Gemini very recently launched a small model, on-edge model.
Yes.
Basically, it can run on your phone. And the way we're looking at it right now is, we are trying to build the infrastructure so that we can integrate onto a Samsung or a Google Pixel.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's the way we're looking at it. So pretty much something inbuilt, something that you can activate, and it's already done. Okay. It's already on your phone. That's the vision we have, and that's what we're really aiming for. But yeah, I think, given the kind of conversations we're having, maybe something we're also looking to is some app which, consumers, anybody on the internet can launch and download
so
on
you're
their phone.
talking about a Google store or an Apple store, etc.
Yes, that is, something we
which
are also
trying to
explore. We are exploring. But yeah, I think right now the conversations we've been having are directly on
device.
On device, yes.
With the manufacturers.
Yes,
okay.
with the manufacturer.
What does the model do? Walk me through it. Let's say I've installed it.
Right. So at this stage, what our entire goal is, I'm on a call with someone, and this person is saying something like, okay, let's say, I'm talking to a quote-unquote Sudhir.
I'm right here.
No, on the phone.
Okay.
Right?
That was disturbing. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so let's say I'm talking to a quote-unquote Sudhir. Hi, I'm Sudhir. I'm calling from AIM. We'd love for you to, join our interview tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. here in Bangalore. Would you be interested? And let's say, he says, this is the location. We'll drive you. Blah blah blah. Whatever. This is actually a simpler example, but let's say there's some money involved in this,
yeah,
right?
I was thinking about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say there's some money involved and say, okay, you'll have to pay for X, Y, Z, whatever it may be.
You'll have to contribute to something, etc., whatever.
Exactly. Sure, there's a lot more nuance to this in this use case, but maybe let's take a simpler use case. What happened to my grandfather, for example, right? He's talking someone who seems like his brother, and the quote-unquote brother says, hey Anna, I just got out of an accident. I need money immediately. My phone is out of charge. None of my systems are working. I need money immediately to go to the hospital. I'm calling from
so-and-so place.
A random person's this guy on the street who helped me. Can you please transfer it here? I'm like on the verge of,
Yeah, right.
It's like do or die kind of situation.
And you create that anxiety.
And you create that anxiety.
Yeah,
the scammers are so good at this that you don't even realize that this is a scam. And especially with, people of my mother's age group,
absolutely,
my grandparents' age group, no matter.
Far more vulnerable, yes.
Far more vulnerable. And these guys are getting better and better with the kind of use cases of their scams. This is a use case that, okay, maybe now, he knows a little better, but they have these new and upcoming use
Absolutely.
cases, the most nuanced use cases you can't even think about. So that's the place we're headed. So how it works, as and when the person is speaking, hi Anna, I'm speaking from
So-and-so place.
Belandur. I just got into an accident. There's no one near me. My phone is not working. So hi Anna, first statement. Second statement, I'm speaking from Belandur. So hi Anna, we give a confidence score. Is this likely to be real or fake? How likely is this to be real or fake? I'm speaking from Belandur, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
We do it on a sentence by sentence basis, and that's the way we're looking at it. And on the larger outset, we're also trying to identify fraud patterns within this, because is this likely to be something that's intended with fraud based on everything that was spoken?
Okay.
So that's also something we're doing. So, everything that he spoke, is this likely to be some kind of fraud, or is this likely to be real? So we're arming them with tools that pretty much enables them to trust whatever they're hearing. So think of it as an anti-deepfake, anti-fraud stack that every person with a phone can arm themselves with.
Fair
That's the way we're looking at it.
Now tell me this, in terms of the fact that, okay, fair, you've explained how, let's say, it works. Now, with the kind of advancements which are taking place, Tarini, in terms of the attackers, like you yourself said, that every day there is a new nuance that they bring into it, or there's a new sense of, deviousness that they kind of bring into it, plus also with the technology backing. How are you being able to, let's say, evolve the model as far as defective AI is concerned? How do you do it?
Right. So, there are some vectors that act as very strong inputs for us.
Sure.
Many of these calls originate from specific regions that, we're able to get some insight of.
Sure.
The call numbers, that's one aspect, but deepfake detection specifically is, our core proposition. But beyond that, we are always trying to work with people that constantly talk to people who've faced abuse of deepfakes.
So that's the data, is it, that's being collected? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're very much in touch with support groups for victims of deepfake abuse and victims of deepfake.
What are the kind of numbers, if you don't mind me asking, that we are looking at?
The kind of numbers in terms of...
let's say these support groups, right? I mean, so how much of data can you mine from these places is my question.
Right. We're looking at it from an aspect of... more on an aspect of what are the different types of patterns.
Different kind of patterns. Fair enough. So it's not so much a numbers game. You're trying to understand the variety in a big way of the kind of scams which are constantly cropping up.
Yes.
Fair point. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
But I think today, still a large part of it is kidnap. So anything that's being asked for in ransom, anything that's... So a big part of it is urgency, as you would expect.
So medical emergency, a kidnapping could be something which is life or death.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So that is, patterns that we generally observe. But today we're actually seeing a lot more, and it's something that's constantly evolving, like I mentioned. But we are always on top of the game of also trying to understand how can we develop defenses better, because the scammers are getting smart. We have to get smarter.
So, I mean, talking about being smart, you're of course sharp as a tack, forever have been. You yourself are an engineer. Talk me through the tech stack. Talk me through right from the time that you thought of this. I remember you kind of right at the top of the conversation, you alluded to it slightly, that you had worked with certain machine learning models, etc., which you were dabbling with. Talk me through that.
Right. So, I mean, we build our own models from the scratch. We don't build the kind of foundational models that in 11 Labs or in Anthropic an Anthropic builds.
Sure.
But the kind of models we build are still foundational in the nature that we're building them from the ground up. And ML was a big part of it initially. I think people actually underestimate the kind of impact that even core classic ML or DL, deep learning, which is something a lot of tech folks watching might be familiar with, actually has an impact in this space. Slowly and surely, of course, we're evolving with the kind of technologies we're seeing. But yeah, I think still a very huge part of it is actually classic deep learning. I think that's one way to put it. Yeah,
it was.
For sure.
Did you feel that, I mean, with the way that you started to build or you wanted to get, and as things started to evolve, you mentioned the benchmarks that you had started to achieve, etc. Did you feel that now that you're probably looking at a leapfrog, you're looking at, expanding in a big way, are you thinking of, Tarani, maybe looking at a collaboration with, let's say, a lab? You're trying to bring in other people in as far as that is concerned, which will only accelerate the growth pattern?
We're always, open to collaboration, and I think in this space, collaboration is all the more better. So we're always open to collaboration.
Who would you probably be looking at? Let's say.
So definitely people who are working on the generative space. Because there is an incentive to both sides to this. This is also something that the generative players have to have responsibility for, and we've seen these collaborations happen, across the world. So generative players working with deepfake detection companies, because there is an onus of ensuring that the technology doesn't fall in the wrong hands.
Right.
Because as and when the wrong hands start using it more and that flywheel accelerates, then the kind of trust that is, there on these systems, in many ways, so in many ways, it is incentivized for both parties to really ensure that everything that's reaching out to the public has safety guardrails, safety mechanisms to ensure that we're actually reaching it to the largest amount of people and we're actually accelerating society. And we've seen this with, Anthropic itself, for example, has such a huge focus on safety.
For sure.
And it's really nice to see. And I think
the fact that they say no to the Department of War.
Yeah, I think, and people like you and I, there's a reason that so many people, we saw very recently the kind of Anthropic kind of overtook,
ChatGPT.
OpenAI, ChatGPT. So
also in revenue, they went over $30 billion, where OpenAI was dodging at somewhere about 24, somewhere there.
Exactly. So, people are not blind. People are privy to things that happen, very privy, in fact. And I think it's onus of, the companies itself to also make sure that the technology is ensuring it's going in the right direction.
I think just if you remember, Tarani, I mean, that was the reason why OpenAI has now kind of come back to that entire bit of coding. I think, they're taking a page out of Anthropic's playbook. In Codex, they're pushing it, because they've now shut down things like a Sora, for example, or other aspects, purely because of the fact that they realize that let's not spread ourselves too thin.
Perhaps, I mean, definitely, I think that's one thing. And I definitely, the way I think about it is, if you're building for the future, this is a big part of it, because anything has pros and cons. With, Dario Mode has himself said, the kind of cons that AI has and will have, and if we don't take care of it, then all this work that we put into AI will actually go for a toss. And none of us who are actually, rooters for this tech actually want that to happen.
Absolutely.
So making sure that we're working towards progress in a manner that it's actually doing it in the right direction is so important. When we've seen so many labs work with companies that are working for safety and deepfake detection, and those are the companies we're also, working on partnerships with. Yes.
You didn't. I'm sure a lot of the developers who are watching, or for that, a lot of the entire community. You still haven't really told me elaborately in terms of the tech stack as far as detective AI is concerned. Is there a reason, or?
I mean, I think
you just talked about deep learning. And
yeah, I mean, that's the best way to put it without probably infringing on my IP. But I mean, that's the genuine truth. I think that's really the truth, because a big part of what we do is actually very rooted in classic ML and then to DL.
That's it. Fair enough. So finally, I have to ask you this: as far as the arms race is concerned, my thoughts. I want to bring you on to that. Every improvement in detection capability is followed by an improvement in generation. We've discussed this to an extent. What do you feel, honestly, right now? Are the good actors kind of ahead or behind? And I'm not talking about OpenAI or Anthropic. That was not a loaded statement. But you can answer it. That's not a problem. Who is doing better, OpenAI or Anthropic? That
In
doesn't
terms of-
correlate to this, but I mean, I was just...
Oh, that's very interesting. I think they're both, I mean, great. Like I'm a minuscule in comparison to them today, but I think both have their pros and cons. I think in the safety space, definitely Anthropic is doing a lot better. It depends on the kind of decisions they make over the next few months. I was in the Valley for a bit, so I had a kind of understanding of what people are using more, at least the technical
Fair
folks.
enough.
I think
People lean towards Anthropic.
I would probably say perhaps right now that's the situation, but I think in a broader sense, OpenAI has obviously early entry to the market, so a lot more people. A common person, for them AI is still ChatGPT, so they've done incredibly well in that. So again, it's hard to say completely, but I think they're both incredible at what they do, and it's only time that will tell.
Tell me this, okay, Tarini, I want to ask you this. How do you feel about this entire conversation about the fact that, let's say, the way people tend to understand or envisage India as on date? I know things are changing. We, of course, have been a country which has forever been looked at as an IT services sort of a giant, right? Providing those kind of solutions. You have been in San Francisco, you've worked probably in the Bay Area, etc. There is a lot of conversation within India that, maybe we should start seriously thinking towards model developments, etc. Right? I want to understand, how do you feel is the ecosystem as far as that is concerned when it comes to San Francisco? Probably the mindset of maybe the founders or the startups there vis-a-vis the ones here. And do you believe that, yes, we definitely need to make that pivot?
This is a great question. And I'd like to bring this one point, which is there is this massive SF to Bangalore corridor, which I'm a huge part of. We have a base in SF. We also have ops here running, but a big part of our base is SF. We're focused on global from day one. But in terms of ecosystem, I think one thing SF does really well is definitely identifying that actually there is a reduction in terms of barriers for a lot of people.
When you say barriers, what do you mean?
So let's take an example of age, for example, because Silicon Valley has seen so many young founders do incredibly well in tech. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg.
Sure.
The biggest guys started really, really young, and people had backed them at a very early age. So we've seen this for a decade plus or 2 decades almost, right? So
that's a difference you feel then? I
definitely feel that's a difference. Backing of youngsters is a big thing, probably because I'm a youngster myself, but
sure.
I think that's like a big thing. But apart from that, I think ambition wise, I would say we've, some of the best founders in the world are, actually of Indian origin. So I don't think, Indian, founders have anything less in terms of ambition, like incredible ambition.
There for sure is there. Do you feel there's a funding aspect also which comes into the picture, which could be a barrier?
Very recently we had, the Minister Piyush, sir, he spoke about this as well, right? Like a lot of the funding that went towards startups was, quick commerce, a lot of money into that. We're so slowly seeing money into, foundational models. Sarvam is surely a good example of that.
Absolutely.
And they're doing great, right? Like, so I think it's changing. I definitely think it's changing. This capital is definitely something that's to be discussed about in tech. I think a lot of money that still goes into tech in India is on the applications layer. So building infrastructural tech, there is money, but I suppose it's maybe we're not on the level of Silicon Valley yet, but
I think we are moving in the right direction, according to you.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think so. We can see that with Sarvam, and I have a great ecosystem here of founders that I've met in India, and I think people are very happy that the last few years there's been quite a few improvements. But as a founder who's worked, both in India and in SF, I think definitely risk capital is more in SF for
Fair enough.
infrastructure tech. So that's the way I think about it. Yeah.
But it seems that slowly but surely it is kind of starting to change. That's your general viewpoint as far as
For sure,
India's
I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, I think India's great talent pool. So
Talking about that,
Yeah.
you yourself, I mean, come from that talent pool. You're a youngster, you've referred to that aspect. What do you have to say about the entire fracas right now, the flux which is going on as far as the entry level freshers are concerned? Everyone seems to be in a state of a lot of anxiety, people hiring, etc. What are your thoughts on that, Tarini? I mean, what are the people saying to you, the people who you are, speaking with, your friends probably, I don't know.
there definitely is, and I think this is across the board. I have friends in the US,
Right.
the same situation there, the same in India. I think the reason being, entry level roles are being wiped off because of AI. So how can you stay relevant in such a world? Because your basic lead code that every third year student in engineering does, we call it a lead code grind. I don't think that's enough anymore. Even if you're a lead code, highest star, I don't think that's enough. So the way I see it is you have to start looking at getting deeper into research. And I don't mean publishing papers. I don't mean any of that.
Sure.
That would be great. But I mean in the sense of actually understanding the core architectures and actually getting deep into what builds
You,
these
of course,
models.
are leading as far as filing patents are concerned. So, I mean, just thought I'd share that with you. In terms of papers that are being filed, patents, etc. So, that is one thing which is improved. But anyway, you were saying.
Yes, I mean, that's great. Like, I think a lot of people are into research, and I love that, we're seeing so many people. But I still think, majority of students are focused on, I want to do lead code, I want to get the placement, and they still think that's the path. And for sure, I think there is some truth to it, but it has changed. And I can say this change has been like exponential in just the last year. So the most brilliant students from my own university, who were actually very brilliant, but they put all their time and efforts into just, doing the lead code grind, whatever
Sure.
you want to call it. They're a bit left behind because
What are they doing now?
some of them are not placed, which was their whole motive. Like a lot of engineering students, their whole idea is, I want to get a job after this, which is fair. But a lot of them are still, figuring it out, which I think has been a very interesting sight to see. So I think the focus.
Do you think it also has to do a lot with the fact that, generally speaking, there was a so-called, like you said, a beaten path. You would you would graduate as an engineer, for example, and then you would know that, the big IT company would have, let's say, a training program, etc. So there was maybe a landing space of sorts, and then you could, but that's changed in a big way. And the fact that your friends, well, I'm sorry, I really wish and pray that they get whatever they're looking for as far as their vocation is concerned, and soon enough. But do you feel that what Jan LeCun had ended up saying, which I thought definitely resonated with me, that this constant conversation about AI taking over jobs, etc., all of that is actually depressing people, depressing students who are in high school, and especially this generation? Have you sensed that?
Yes, for sure. I think, a lot of people are just glad to have gotten an internship. I mean, obviously internships are great. You learn a lot, whatever. A bunch of the smartest people that I know, worked really hard, just worked on placements, which is, getting a
Sure.
job out of college. But the problem was that playbook has changed, right?
Right,
It's
right.
not, so it's not just doing those sums every day and coding, because coding today can be done
Yes.
a lot easier. So the idea has to go, how can you go beyond that? Code, like lead code problems, like we call it, they test one important skill, which is problem solving. And I think that's still being a big part of the qualification process. But I still think understanding the core elements of building out these AI models is going to help people a lot more than just quote unquote grinding lead code. And yeah, I think definitely there is a whole frightening scenario in people's minds also. There is also mental aspect to it. AI is taking our jobs, whatnot. But I actually think AI is generating a lot more new jobs, and people should be looking out for that. If you're leaving out just...
Yeah, because I mean, new positions are coming in. Let's say somebody who is orchestrating or somebody who's an architect, etc. So yes,
Exactly.
companies are past. Okay, there is this one thing which I want to understand from you. So there is this entire thing, which is the fact that AI is threatening, but also I feel, and I need you to tell me what you feel on that. There is a lack of knowledge as far as the younger generation, probably who is just graduating right now, is concerned. What do they upskill on? Do you agree with me on that? Because maybe the industry is not letting that information flow, or maybe the industry themselves are not aware. Hence, there is a break between academia and industry. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think in terms of the kind of coursework that a lot of engineering schools have, it is still a bit outdated.
Yeah.
I think that conversation has been going on for a long enough period. So I definitely think a lot of updates have to happen there. We're in an AI native world today. If we're still, I had a friend, one of my cousins, she's in the 11th grade, and she's talking to me about how her teachers give an assignment about an essay.
Sure.
And everyone obviously, uses... Yeah, exactly. Everyone
model,
uses a
correct.
model, right? Now, the teachers know that, and they're also using models to correct it.
Correct.
So, what is the actual learning?
Actually, an
that's
AI talking to an AI, right?
Yeah.
It's quite scary.
So, what is the actual learning that's happening? It's quite interesting, very something to think about. I don't know what to hold, but one thing I will say as someone who is, I have been focused on, like, I was never someone who enjoyed being a part of the lead code grind, or what you want
Fair
to call
enough.
it, because I was clear that understanding what's the actual how are people actually building out these models, instead of just focusing on those same problem statements, actually trying to understand what's happening in real world, what kind of models are being deployed in real world. Looking at it from a research aspect has helped me a lot. Like as a company, as part of this problem statement of deepfake detection, I have a couple of patents that I've filed for, and I think the way I would really urge youngsters to look at it is start looking at it from a perspective of beyond placements, because once you get placed, let's say in the pre-AI era also, there is so much you're going to learn in the actual company, what
Sure.
they're doing, the kind of work they're doing. Try to learn that today instead of lead code. Try to learn what... So let's say you're joining AI research lab.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
You're talking still about joining.
Yeah.
Right? But you have been an entrepreneurial brain, which is wonderful, right? Now I want to understand, as far as AI is concerned, it is accelerating things. We are aware of that, etc. Right? We are seeing a lot of people who are using AI to start up their own companies. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel, forget placements for a second, you're seeing a future where a lot of people will get excited and say, all right, wait a minute, man, I don't want to get embarrassed because I'm very confused. Everybody keeps saying upskill, upskill. They don't clarify what is upskill. Companies are not aware. So you see that happening.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. I think a lot of people entering the entrepreneurial path.
Right.
I think that's great. Like, there is
You're an
so
entrepreneur
much.
yourself, Tarini.
As an entrepreneur, I think I was very clear from the get-go. I don't want to do placements, and that was something I was set on.
Sure.
But today I'm seeing friends, who are very clear that they want to get placed, be like, hey, you know what? Maybe, actually in this scenario where, like you mentioned, maybe the company that I want to get placed at doesn't even know who to hire.
Which is true.
Maybe I will start my own path and figure it out. I think a lot of people are doing that, and I would, I am an entrepreneur. I would always encourage people to get down that
Fair
path.
enough.
Yeah, because I have like the past, since I started this, I've just been. It's an incredible learning curve beyond my technical research and all the other accolades I have from a technical aspect. And otherwise, I think as an entrepreneur, I think you actually learn the most important skills. And I think nothing like it. Like, engineers, we're very much on what's the problem, what's the solution. And most of our problems are technical. How do we solve it technically? Entrepreneur is very an engineer, but put them in real world settings with zero code around them and try to identify real world problems and solve real world issues. And I have I could not be doing anything else. So if anybody is actually having an iota of that kind of mindset,
spark, you should do that.
Go for it. I would. Yeah.
Fair. Which then naturally makes me want to understand from you that this is nice, right? You, of course, will share a lot of your stories of inspiration with a lot of your friends, which I'm pretty sure you already do. I'm pretty sure your friends are also aware of the fact that your company is backed up by the residency program as far as Sam Altman is concerned. Fair?
Yes.
So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, that's a wonderful thing to happen. Doesn't happen to all of us. Doesn't happen to a lot of people, right? So, one, how did that happen? Two are the aspects as far as, like you're saying, that there will be a lot more of a surge as far as young, bright minds building their own companies is concerned. So what do they need to do to get those kind of backings? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? That's a stack of 4 questions. Since you did not tell me about your tech stack, I just thought I'd...
Okay. That's... The residency was, they have a process, they have a, form they make you fill out, and it's a thorough process of, interviews and questioning. As far as I understand, I think they have a sub 3% acceptance. So it's very competitive, one of the, best accelerators I have encountered. And I would say in the world, you get access to people like Sam Altman, who has, come to our house and, spoken to people in the house at the residency. So those kind of people, I think...
Just encouraging.
It's great. So the process-wise, it was very simple. It's a very open process. Like they have a form where you fill it out, and then there's a multiple interview rounds that you have to undergo and post all of those interviews. If you're suitable, you get in. I think that's clear. But I think the next question was,
about the fact that, let's say, how do people probably get interested or start building certain things which probably maybe qualifies them for something like this to happen, because this could be quite life-changing in a big way. For
sure. I think at the core of it, I'm still a believer that if people want to create something, they will do it. And there's a Hindi saying, "Kisi cheez ko dil se chaho to
puri kainat."
That statement.
Jut jati hai usko dilane ke liye.
Exactly. So I think my dialogues are hazy, but I think that's I really believe that. And if you can put your thought out there to the world, there is so many people that will want to help you. And
you've seen that happen personally?
I think the startup community is very helpful. They're extremely helpful. I think
both here in Bengaluru and in SF?
Both in SF and in Bangalore, everywhere I have been, the startup community has been incredibly helpful. A tech startup community, more in specific, I would even say, because I think there is a huge sense of collaboration, huge sense of, if it works for you, it somehow helps me. And I get that, that's a thing in business in general, but also I think in tech, that's just a lot more. I don't know what the reason is. I would like to understand maybe, but...
maybe it's just a sense of bonhomie. Maybe it's just a sense of trying to grow together. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that.
That's probably it. But, I feel in tech in specific, there's so much support, and that's one thing I would say, like, you shed all your perceptions about this being X dominated industry, Y dominated industry.
Fair
I
enough.
think for me that was important because I came in with so many people telling me so many things, like as an engineer itself, I obviously know, like tech is a quote unquote like male dominated space. I've seen that, but you have to shed those things out.
No fears, no insecurities.
No fears, no insecurities, and everything you hear, take it with a pinch of salt, unless you feel like it's something, because
Fair enough.
you know what you're doing best. I think that's
Makes
the
sense.
best way to put it. Yeah.
I want to conclude with this. You are an engineer at heart. You like to solve problems. Wonderful. You have done wonderfully well, and you're only getting started. So this is obviously wishing you all the positive energy and your team. But I want you to share one thing in terms of what do you feel? What is your thought on this? It's nice to solve a problem, but you are also an entrepreneur. How difficult is it for you to be in a state of balance? Because let's face it, you've got to run a business as well. You get my point? So it's nice, I got this, I am doing this, is that. But the fact is, it's a commercial organization and people are looking toward you, for example, as the leader of that organization to ensure that you're being able to deliver.
No,
How do you draw that?
I am very clearly an entrepreneur first. I am very committed to maximizing shareholder value, if that's what you want to call
Fabulous.
it. And that's the way I see it. I think, you can be solving any problem, but if it has no real people that use it or want to use it, or, people who believe in it, then, unless of course you have the vision and you're very bullish on the vision and you know that the whole world will be like, this was the right thing. So there are different ways of looking at it. Are there people buying it now, or will there be people buying it
Fair enough.
in a few years, whatever it may be? I mean, but that's my thought process. I'm very much an entrepreneur first, and I'm very much committed to building the next billion-dollar company. And I think I'm set on that.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Fabulous spark, and I really wish you all of the best. That
Thank
one last line that you need to look into that camera and say to that one entrepreneur who you want to inspire.
Shed all your perceptions about anything about this field of entrepreneurship before actually jumping in. I think the best way to learn about it is actually getting in. And once you're in, the kind of things you will learn and unlearn, it is going to be monumental, and you will completely be transformed as a person, a leader, and a founder, and actually bring so much value to the people that are backing you across the world. I think that's the way to end it.
You know what? It's not the ending, it's only the beginning, Tarini, and you've done something wonderful. And I have to say this, we at Front Page are extremely proud of what you're doing. And of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of the people listening are very proud of what you're doing. But most importantly, your grandfather is very proud of what you're doing. Well done. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. An entrepreneur who's only 21 years old, Tarini, is building deepfake solutions for all of us, yes, to have some level or the other a sense of a safety net. And she is driving this. She started off from a personal space, and I feel it's so fascinating and so inspirational to see the fact that the challenges have not deterred her, which have actually further inspired her. Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very good evening. Now, before I start the show today, I want you to take a look at this. What you're looking at right now, it is a phone farm. Rows and rows of smartphones. Nobody's really holding them, or nobody's really watching them. They're just simply running, clicking, scrolling, liking, viewing, all of it on their own. This is what gaming the algorithm looks like. Now, these aren't real viewers. There is no real engagement per se. But on a brand's dashboard somewhere, the numbers look completely legitimate. And here's why that matters for today's conversation. When a piece of AI-generated content gets pushed through one of these farms, it gets the views, it gets the watch time, it gets promoted. The platform sees traction and rewards it. It's as simple as that. Meanwhile, the creator who's actually gone somewhere, went somewhere, they've shot something real, spent weeks editing it, is sitting at a fraction of those numbers, wondering what on earth did they do wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't cheat. That's what we are getting into today. We need to talk about something that is happening right now in real time. And most people they're either not noticing it or they're not naming it. The creator economy, which was supposed to democratize, who gets to make the content, who really gets to build an audience, who gets to earn from their creativity, it's currently facing its first real identity crisis. And the culprit, if you want to call it that, is, of course, AI-generated content. Or as people in the industry are now calling it, AI slop. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Antara. This is Point Break Season 2. And today I have with me two guests who are both in this world, but from very different angles here. Alisha Chand is the producer, the founder, I beg your pardon, and the CEO of AB Over Media. She builds brands and content businesses. She understands really the creator economy from the business end and from what actually sustains it. Alisha, welcome to Point Break. And
Hi.
Sumit Kanade, he's a content creator and founder of Gourmet Musafir Media. He has, in fact, built an audience around food, around travel and storytelling. He's the kind of creator this conversation is really about. Someone who has shown up, who has had a distinct voice and has built something real. Sumit, it's really good to have you here as well. Now,
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let me quickly define the problem first now, okay? Because AI slop is a very specific thing here. It is not really AI-assisted content, where a human uses artificial intelligence as a tool and, still drives the creative decision. That is a very legitimate conversation. We here today are talking about AI slop, which is the mass production of content. I'm talking about articles, videos, images, thumbnails, entire YouTube channels, really generated almost entirely by AI and generated at a volume and speed no human creator can match. Designed purely to capture attention and really monetize it. There's no point of view here. There's no lived experience. There's no actual human behind it. And here's that uncomfortable truth, right? It is working. Unfortunately, it is working. It is getting the views. It is getting the clicks. It is getting the ad revenue. And it is doing that by flooding every platform simultaneously. Now, to Sumit, I want to take my first question from you. You
Yes.
create content around, food and travel. You are physically somewhere. You are experiencing something. Now, have
Correct.
you started noticing AI-generated content in your space specifically? Content that, might look like yours, but has literally nobody behind it, Sumit?
Absolutely. Especially in last couple of months, especially this entire quarter. I've seen a lot of videos on all surfaces, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all the surfaces,
Yes.
where there is no human face in the video, but the content looks very humanly. So
Right.
I saw content recently. I saw content from Indonesia, a very beautiful sunset and everything. It looks very real, but but you can notice there is something about AI, maybe a watermark or maybe something around it. So at the end, I could notice that. But initially, when I was seeing the video, it was literally flawless. I couldn't differentiate between a real video or a AI generated video. And especially in travel segment, there are a lot of AI generated video nowadays. Like you can see a snow in a deserted area nowadays.
Okay.
So it becomes very difficult to actually recognize whether it is a real video or a AI video.
Okay, and as a professional in the field, how do you personally are able to filter that out, if at all that's possible? Since you are telling me that half of the time these content can easily pass off as a content generated by a human being. So how are you able to filter that out?
So see, because we are in this field, I am doing this from almost 8 years. So now we know that in this season, this place will not look like this.
Right.
Like if now this is a cherry blossom season in Japan.
Correct.
But if you are actually in AI generated videos, if they are showing snow, or maybe they are showing cherry blossom in Bangalore or maybe Bombay or somewhere. So we actually know that this is not possible in this season. So that we could differentiate. So that is one human factor, like a touch point where we can share and tell the audience that this is not the real thing.
Right.
But I think the surfaces, the media platform should take the owner's responsibility, where there is a filter, maybe an AI filter again, or maybe a human touch point, where they could differentiate. And I think there was a feature used to come on Facebook, on Meta, especially Meta apps, where they used to tell that this is AI generated content, but I couldn't see that feature from last couple of months, especially that there's AI videos.
Fair. So basically what you're saying is that if at all it is AI generated, there needs to be some sort of credit mentioned there on the content, explicitly. Correct. So, right?
Absolutely, it should be.
Absolutely.
So there is Advertising Standard Council of India. So there are media, Ministry of Media and everything. I think there should be some laws. Because there are so many, we could see deepfakes around every now and then we are seeing and we are hearing about it. So I think there should be very strict laws about AI. If someone is using AI content, maybe for news, information, or kind of generating revenue out of it.
Absolutely.
So I think there should be a proper mention that this is the AI generated content.
Certainly. Certainly, and the laws need to be a lot more stricter as and when we move forward. The laws certainly need to be a lot more stricter. Thank you for that, Sumit. Alicia, I would like to take my next question from you. Strictly from a media business perspective, when you hear the term AI slop, is that a real category for you?
Your voice is breaking.
Yeah. All right. Sumit, since we were talking about, how there needs to be a law in place really to have. It needs to be a little more tighter than what it is currently, because a lot of content is still slipping through our fingers. We still don't know, even as consumers, even as an audience, as a viewer, I don't know really if the content in front of me is AI generated or not. So when that happens, the trust of the audience also comes into the picture. For example, since you are a travel blogger, right? I, as your audience, I'm following you because of the cinematic experience that I'm able to experience through your content. But what happens really when someday somebody tomorrow goes ahead and puts out these AI generated content and is still able to unfortunately achieve those sort of results? Sadly, the fact of the matter is that content like that is still being monetized. So while we have laws on paper for AI, it certainly is not being implemented as far as we can see. Right. And that I believe needs to be something that, our policies should work on. Alicia, I believe we are back. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes.
No, not an issue, Alicia. I'll ask the next question from you. Okay. Yes. So strictly from a media business perspective, when you hear the term AI slop, this is a word that has been going around in the circles. Is that a real category for you, or is it still an edge case? Or how seriously is the industry actually taking this?
So I think yes, it is there. It's not on the edge, right? But it is more on the creator and content side. right? So when we say brand, it's still not there. So no one in
Okay.
in the brand segment is basically creating n number of AI videos. They're still focusing on human content, human creator content. But yes, in terms of creators, especially emerging creators, growing creators, nano creators are utilizing this format a lot, and so much more in terms of creator and not in terms of brand.
Okay, so you're saying independent creators are experiencing AI slop a lot more than full-fledged agencies.
And brands, for example.
And
For example, just to take an example, if PNG wants 10,000 pieces of content,
Yes.
they might not go AI way, right? They would still prefer human content. So in terms of brands, yes, there is no AI slop right now because there's no AI content being made in quantity as compared to creators' content, where of course creators want to get more views, more watch hours, etc., etc. So more ad revenue options, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Alicia, on that, I would like to ask you another question here. The creator economy was built strictly on a simple promise. If you have something original to say and, you build an audience around it and you make a living out of it, that promise is now under pressure since you were talking about independent creators. Now, because when an AI can produce 500 pieces of content a day and a human can produce only up to 5, the algorithm does not care which is which, right? It responds to volume, it responds to watch time, it responds to engagement signals. So the independent creator, say for an example, the journalist who's building a newsletter, the filmmaker making documentaries, or the educator explaining complex ideas, they are now competing not with another human being. They are competing with a machine that never sleeps, never has a bad day, and literally has no cost of living. So this is not a level playing field, really. That is not even the same game. So, Alicia, since you were speaking about independent creators and everything, AppOffer works with creators and brands. So, are you really seeing that business model actually shift there? Are brands starting to care less about who made the content and more about whether or not it performs on the platforms?
Not at all. I don't think so. So, to answer your first part of the question, I think, yes, there is a lot of AI content happening. But we need to understand that you cannot compare it with the human content, right?
Certainly.
While, of course, no matter how good prompts you give, after one point in time, yes, right now it is happening. After one point in time, creativity will matter, right? AI will start creating the same type of content, the same insights, the same. Of course, you can change voice, you can use tools, and you can change voice and all, but you can
100%.
still not be that creative what a human creative content can be, right? You will always need a human touch. So yes, with all the tools and with all AI coming in, for example, if I just compare a nano or a new creator starting their creator journey and someone who's actually creating AI content, which works 24/7, right? The growth might be slow because yes, quantity will be there, but eventually the quality will matter because engagement will only come on quality. It will not come on quantity, right? For first few contents, first 2, 3, 4 contents, amazing, right? We are getting some insight, but eventually I would need a actual human where I can feel relatable to. And for example, Sumit is an amazing food creator, right? Someone starts a food AI content. Just for example, right? I would consume the content to start with, but eventually I would want to know Sumit's personal experience, which an
Certainly.
AI content cannot deliver, right?
Certainly.
When it comes to brands, I feel no, brands are still very much dedicated to human content and creator content. While of course they do appreciate if you want to use some tools, make the content better looking.
Absolutely.
But really AI specific content is right now not even brands' preference.
I was in fact just coming to that, Alicia. Thank you for bringing that point up. We were just having this conversation yesterday where one of our guests said that, you need to walk with AI instead of walking behind it, because the moment you start walking behind it, you've already lost the plot. So right now what you said makes so much sense, because at the end of the day, we cannot ignore the fact that AI is very much in the sphere. It is here and it's here to stay. So instead of, completely negating its influence, its impact, if you start using it as a tool, as something that would assist you in your work, you can go 10 steps again, right? I believe that is something that, you know, the creator sphere really needs to sit down and talk about. This is something that is very much possible.
Correct. We just need to make them
Absolutely.
our best friends
Certainly.
and not treat that as a competition. While, of course, there will be some players who might be doing that quantity game, etc., etc. But
Yes.
eventually it will fade out, is what I feel. At the end of the day, unless the person who's giving prompts also matters, right? The creativity matters. So that only can come from the creator. The creators are the best creative people out there.
Certainly.
So that, of course, cannot be competed with any AI platform, I think.
Certainly. Thank you for that, Alicia. Sumit, I would like to ask you a rather direct question here. You know, has your reach, has your brand deals really been affected by the sheer volume of the content that's now on literally every other platform? Are you feeling the squeeze as a creator yourself?
Absolutely. With the organic reach and especially the brand deals, I'm definitely feeling the pressure.
Yes.
But it's not because of the AI videos. It is because of the views are now getting fragmented. Earlier, our creator competitor was a creator, but now we are competing with creator as well as the AI and the machine content, which has been generating 24/7. So that is one aspect. And now brands want 10 million views across all the surfaces. But as a creator, it is not very feasible because we cannot guarantee the reach. It's always about the algorithm as well.
Correct.
And there is so much content flooding in the market and across all the surfaces, it becomes very difficult to reach organically. And coming straight, there are manipulated views.
Yes.
And there is the new term which is now generating is called as fake creator economy.
Yes.
And there are a lot of bot followers and bot views and so many things, clickbaits and everything. So that is one aspect.
Absolutely. Sumit, I think you read my mind on that one, because my very next question would be this. You know, fake metrics, fake views, fake followers. This is the scene right now. How do we sanitize this present scenario? Like, what are the metrics we can look at here? You know, as a creator, what would your take would be in this case?
So, as a brand, when you are selecting or you want to work with creator,
yes,
I think you should analyze at least 10 to 15 videos on their feed. And when you are actually analyzing those videos, the first part about the likes, comments, many times creators hide their likes, they hide their comments.
Okay.
So that is a suspicious, like the first trigger point, which brand they should actually ask. Because first red flag, they should actually ask the creator that, can you please share the genuine insights about this particular content? If the content has worked well, you can see 10 million views on that content, but likes are hidden, comments are hidden. There are n number of shares, and everything can be manipulated in today's age. So that is one first aspect where brand should ask the creator upfront. Second, you can see the comments. Now, I recently saw a video, like there were thousands of comments.
Yes.
But the accounts were not from India. There were some random accounts from different countries. So the human can actually decode it that this is not the real pages. These are all bot pages. And there are many platforms where you just have to post the link and automated comments will be driven, say, 10 to 15 minutes. There are bot engagement, or you can say fake engagement part. So engagement seeding, there's a term called as engagement seeding, where this creators, some creators, not all creators, so they seed engagement using other platforms. So when I say other platform, it can be AI generated, it can be fake, it can be bot, anything.
Understood. You know, since we are on the topic of engagement seeding, and let's put a little bit of focus on the platform itself. Okay, the algorithm is the gatekeeper here, and right now it is not really distinguishing between humans and machine
and creators.
Yes, and creators. So is that a real problem? Not AI itself, but the platforms that are also refusing to police it. And this is a question for the both of you.
Yes. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, please.
You can take.
Okay. No, so I just feel algo is pushing content basis engagement, right? So be it AI content, be it human-based creator content, if the engagement is good, algo is pushing. So we work very closely with Meta and YouTube, both of them. I don't think so. The platforms are by themselves promoting or pushing AI content. There is no scenario they can do, and they are not doing it. Of course, the engagement depends. Like Sumit said, yes, of course, if there's any AI content where there's a lot of engagement in the first 15 minutes by whatever means, yes, algo will push that content, right?
Okay.
And the same goes with the human content. So I think algo is basically dependent on the engagement what you get on the video, be it human or AI. It being AI is not the only reason why the content is getting pushed.
But do you believe that, the platforms need to have a stricter filter of sorts then? Since it's not really distinguishing, and since you very correctly pointed out that, at the end of the day, algorithm works on the engagement, how the content is performing, as simple as that. Okay, it's black and white. However, would you believe that, or would you say that, platforms need to have a stricter filter of sorts where at least they are able to put it out there for the consumers that, hey, this is something that has been created by a creator or a creator agency for that matter, and this is something that is AI generated, just to, keep the conversation online a lot more transparent, since it's any which way is not distinguishing.
Correct. No, I think both the platforms have very strict rules on AI, right? Even when we say that YouTube, of course, you can monetize content via AI content, they have very, very strong guardrails. So when it comes to monetization, they do have checks. They will not enable monetization for a profile or a page unless those guardrails are met. Keeping that in mind, I think it is also the the user's responsibility, right? To say that this is an AI generated content. Keep a watermark on the right topmost corner, left topmost corner that this is an AI generated content. So this, not only platforms, while they're doing their part, and there's n number of content pieces created every day, I think it is our responsibility also to make sure that we are telling the consumers and the users, hey, this is an AI generated content, what you're looking at, right? Yeah, because I think that platforms are doing the best they can right now in terms of putting those guardrails.
Okay. Sumit, what do you have to say about this?
So I feel it's not about AI versus human now. It's about AI. It's just basically a tool. So all the platforms are built for consumption. And all these AI videos, these are all new videos. See, humans haven't seen these videos. So psychologically, it also affects us back of the mind. This I mentioned. So if there's a place which is actually not in real, it is all created by AI.
Yes.
So it is surprising. It questions your brain. It questions your mind as well.
Yes.
So that's why the average watch time automatically increases. So when the average watch time increases, the content will be pushed, whether it be any platform. It can be YouTube, Facebook, or Insta. So as the average watch time increases, automatically the video gets more views, more attention, more proper distribution across all the surfaces. So I think this is for a shorter run. I feel this is for a shorter run. At some point of time, AI content will saturate. Authenticity will be mattered. Just as Alisha mentioned, that me being a food and travel content creator, you can use AI content to showcase your place. But for review, for authenticity, for actual human feel about that content, I think that will matter at the end.
Absolutely. In fact, Alisha and Sumit, to really sum up this bit of the conversation, I personally, and I believe you two would agree with me on this, using AI is not the problem here, really. You use AI, be it an agency, be it an independent creator, you use AI, you use it to, produce your content. But at the end of the day, when it's reaching the screens of zillions and millions and zillions of people out there, it needs to be clear on their front as well. I think, and that I believe that is the problem here, really, because just the other day when I was doom scrolling on Instagram, which I happen to do a lot, I came across these short stories. I am somebody who is an avid reader, and I keep coming across these stories and everything by writers and other creators, and I came across the series of short stories, and that was really intriguing for me. I was like, this is not something I have seen. And I go up to their profile, and only after scrolling like 4 or 5 posts did I realize that this is not a human writing them. It's strictly AI generated short stories, and they have short films also who are basically trying to replicate the story, and the films themselves are AI generated. It was only after I scrolled, like I really scrolled through their profile, did I realize this particular point. So this sort of brings me to my next question, Alicia, because since you said that platforms are doing their best, I would like to say that platforms are not completely innocent in this. YouTube beat, Instagram, Facebook, their business model honestly runs on content volume. And more content means more time on platform, which means more ad revenue, right? So when AI makes it possible to flood their platforms with content, there is literally very, very little financial incentive for them to stop it. They will talk about authenticity, they will talk about creator programs, and but until AI generated content directly hurts their bottom line, they don't expect to act decisively. The creator is on their own. So Alicia, since you run a media company, you deal with these platforms professionally, are YouTube, is Instagram actually on the creator side, or is that just good marketing on their part?
No. I think YouTube, Instagram are always a creator first platform, right? Since the start. I think they have given so many creators the opportunity to make bread and butter. So we can't, it's very unfair to say that they're not on the creator side. Yes, the world is changing. And if the platforms will not keep up to that, of course, we also lag behind, right? Yes, there are a lot of AI content. They are on creator sites in terms of, for example, the example you gave, right? You saw some short stories, you scroll down, you realize that it's maybe an AI generated script. But what if a writer who's a creator himself has taken help from AI to get those scripts done and actually publish content, right? So actually whatever content and whatever revenue that particular writer is generating, who might have gone to Alibag, taken a vacation, written a script, of course creativity is there, but he had some initial thought starters in his mind. He did put it in AI and eventually got a number of content pieces. Now that revenue, while of course the platform is making revenue, they're also sharing it with the creators. They're not keeping each and everything to themselves. Right. So that writer, no AI is getting that revenue. No AI platform is getting that revenue. At the end of the day, the creator who's using the AI platform directly in a very useful way is getting the revenue. So I feel platforms still have very good, they definitely think about creators in whatever best possible way they can. And they of course have very strict guardrails in terms of if you can just report, there's a deep fake, for example, someone is using Sumait's face in a very wrong way, of course it's wrong. Then that is where the platform will come in picture. You report once, you please send an email to support, and the platform will take an action right away. So I think they have, right now, as we speak, as we all are growing, AI is new to all of us right now, right? Creators, platforms, agencies, whatever best they are doing in terms of restricting what is not okay, but also giving opportunities to see how can you increase the quantity but not do the wrong thing. So I think platforms definitely have the all good faith for creators are working in favor of creators.
Right. Sumit, my next question would be to you.
Yes.
You've built your following on these platforms, right?
Okay.
So does it bother you that the same platform that gave you an audience is also giving that same real estate to content that has no human behind it, and still treating both of them equally? Does that really bother you as a professional?
Yes, it absolutely bothers me a lot, because it has taken almost, as I mentioned, 8 years to build this. But as I mentioned, on the longer run, when I think about the future, so all this platform, they don't have enough data about AI. Right. So they have data created by all the content creators. And these all algorithms, these all are neural networks, and the content which we feed to them, according that, the algorithm changes every single moment, the signals which you give to them. So they don't have enough data created using AI. So I think in couple of years, or maybe in couple of months, if they have enough data to scrutinize, like this is human generated, this is AI generated, I think they'll do better. Currently, yes, it is a bit difficult as the creator, but I am hoping for the best because, as Alicia also mentioned, I also been working with Instagram from a very long time.
Yes.
Instagram gave me the first break, the Born on Instagram program and everything. So I feel that it's a creator first platform, and maybe in coming months or maybe future, they will work on this as well.
Certainly. Also, should there be then a regulation of sorts? Should the government step in and mandate that AI generated content be labeled, the way cigarette packets carry warning? Should there be some sort of warning, or do you feel that is too heavy handed?
Absolutely. Disclaimer should be there coming to, like, if you are promoting alcohol or maybe anything, there are disclaimers as per the ASCI. I think for AI also, the ASCI, Advertising Standard Council, should come up with regulations, disclaimers. So there should be a proper disclaimer at the start of the video, on the video, throughout the video, like this is the AI generated content. So that will help not only platform, but also humans to distinguish that how much to believe and how much you should neglect.
And how much of how authentic is the content?
Correct. Authenticity
when
again.
They are consuming it. Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, there are rules in place. We of course do come across videos where there is an AI mention somewhere at the bottom corner. Okay, but however, this is not uniform. Right? This is not something that we have seen across all AI generated content. And I think that sort of brings us back to our previous point where, it all comes down to law really. How strict is the law? How strict are the rules and the policies in place when it comes to AI generated content being out there on social media? Now, I want to be fair here because there is another side to this. Like you were very, very correctly mentioning, AI has given individual creators literal superpowers they never really had before, right? A solo creator today can edit their own video, they can translate it into 8 different languages, they can generate subtitles, they can design their thumbnail, they can write their description and schedule it as well. All of it with AI assistance. Now these were things that was required by an army of people. Even if it's not an exaggeration, it used to require, a team of say 10 people 3 years ago. So now AI simultaneously, it's become sort of a threat to the creator economy as well, and the biggest enabler of it. Now, the difference is intent, right? Are you using AI to enhance a human creative voice, or are you using it to replace one entirely? So, Sumit, since, we were speaking about it, do you particularly use AI in your own workflow? And if yes, where does it help you? And where do you consciously draw that line?
It definitely is useful on certain part, not throughout, especially when it comes to, as you mentioned, translations.
Yes.
So if you want to create content in some other language, so I was just checking out my insights. So Instagram has just updated their app where you can now see on which language the content have been consumed maximum. So I was just checking that Hindi was the major audience, then Marathi, then Bengali. So that is one aspect which is very useful. So, for example, I am a travel creator and I'm traveling to Kolkata, and I'm not able to speak in that language. But if I'm creating content in my own voice, but when someone from Kolkata is seeing that content in the Bengali language, it is actually useful for them.
Right.
So this is a very useful tool which has been created by the platform. Certainly. But again, people use the loopholes and all those things. So I think it is about responsibility, and I always say that content creation comes with lots of responsibility.
Yes.
So it's creators' responsibility how you utilize the AI tools.
Right. Absolutely. Alicia, in fact, my follow-up question would be with you as someone, who builds content businesses. Do you actively tell your clients, to use AI tools? And do you really worry that, normalizing AI assistance could be or is the first step towards normalizing AI replacement? Is that in the picture?
So I think, we have to keep up with the times. So of course, we need AI support, right? Because while AI has come in the picture, a lot of inquiries in terms of ki, hey, we need this, for example, this much quantity. Earlier, we have never seen a brand producing 10,000 pieces of content, right? Because earlier brands were not selling on Instagram. Right? So everything has changed. It's not just like right now you see all Shark Tank brands actually making so much revenue from Instagram, from platforms, from partnership ads, etc. So thus they need more content, because every content also has a time frame. Like after 2 weeks, the content will not give you that much ROI. What a new piece of content will give you. You have a new product SKU launch, you have a new occasion, etc., etc.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the number of content pieces requirement are also increasing. Right? AI is important. I feel AI will not replace the creators, the human creators, for sure. But definitely brands, creators, agencies, everyone will start using AI to a level. For example, if a brand comes to me and says, hey, I need 5,000 content pieces. I'm just giving an instance. My first and second steps can be AI related, scouting creators, giving them the brief maybe, but finally doing the QC on the scripts and videos is what a human intervention will be required for. So it will be part AI, where it will make my life easy, my team's life easy. They do not have to spend 1 week in just scouting creators. And of course, there is going to be a human intervention to make sure that the quality check is intact, right? We are not, because we cannot depend on AI as well right now.
Fair.
We need to have that quality check that we are delivering the right thing. So it will be part AI, part human, I feel.
Absolutely. Alisha, and in fact to the both of you, and this is again a rather direct question. If, AI could produce content at, say, your quality level, at a fraction of the cost, what do you think? Would a brand choose you, or would it choose the machine? And what does you believe your answer say about where all of this is heading?
Do you want to go? Sure.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So see, if AI is creating that same piece of content, there can be n number of views, millions of views. Views can be bought as well.
Correct.
So virality can be again in millions, can be engineered using AI tools. But the trust and authenticity cannot be automated. And it will never be automated. So that is very important. So you can't win trust using AI. There will be some human intervention, human feel, or human factor, or human testimonial. See, still today, testimonial plays a very big role. You can see YouTube ads, Meta ads, anywhere. The ads with testimonials have been working very well.
Yes.
So I feel that human connect, human feel will matter in all forms of content.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree to what Sumedh is saying. And just to give an example, of course, I won't name the brand or anything else, but there has been an situation where the AI cost of producing that content, which is X amount, is equal to the cost of creator producing that content. And the brand has still gone ahead with the creator. Right? Because if it's a beauty creator, an AI person saying, hey, this serum works on me will not actually be relatable, whereas a human creator coming and say this serum actually works on me, right? So I think that relatability and authenticity will always come from human creators, and AI can never replace that.
Fair. In fact, let's shift our focus here a little bit. Let's talk about the audience as well. Now, what do you believe? Do people actually care if, say, a video answers their question, or an article gives them the information that they need? Does it really matter for them whether a human wrote it or was it a machine-generated content? Because some research, they suggest not really. I mean, at least not yet. Because I think that changes the moment people feel deceived. Right? The moment they realize that they build a parasocial relationship with a creator who doesn't really exist. The moment they took advice from content that had no real accountability behind it. I mean, trust once broken at scale is very, very hard to rebuild. So here's like a hypothetical question for the two of you. Your audience follows you. Sumedh, especially you. They follow you as a person. The travel, the food, the perspective. If they found out that, say, half of your content was AI generated, what do you think would happen?
So definitely, I will lose all those trust which I've built over the years.
Yes.
They will start unfollowing because this content is a business of trust at the end. When I am giving the voice to the content, people actually trusting me, my voice.
Yes.
They are not seeing the video or they are not seeing the place. They are seeing what matters to me, what is my thought about that place, what is my experience about that place. So accountability is very high, and if I lose that, I lose their trust.
Yes.
I have to suffer at the end.
Absolutely. Since you are a travel blogger, and what you say completely makes sense from your point of view, but here's what I want to know, right? For content that cannot or can be easily replicated, for example, like how I was talking about articles here, right?
Yes.
A person writes it. Say, for an example, I write an article for you, all right? And here is another AI-generated article for you. And both of it gives you the same sort of content, the same sort of understanding. A, would you be able to first differentiate between the two? And B, what would you prefer at the end of the day? See, travel is something that is extremely personal. That is something you do, and I've been following you as a creator. I've been following you as a creator, and I've been following the content that you produce. Now, travel is something that's a very different niche of content altogether. But if we, sort of zoom back a little bit and look at things from a wider lens, like I was talking about, simply putting it an article. A, would you be able to differentiate in the first place? And B, which production would you really prefer here?
So you always say that survival of the fittest. The next gen, the Gen X and Gen Z, they are very sharp.
Yes, absolutely.
And there are certain kind of words which are AI generates, like meticulously curated, stop scrolling, and all those. So when you compare those articles, these people can now actually recognize that this is AI generated and this is real. And over the years, I think there will be courses in school curriculum as well where the kids will be taught that this is how to distinguish between AI generated content and human generated content.
Teach
and
them
this
young.
Is going to happen.
Yes.
This is going to happen in future.
Absolutely.
So certain kind of words, the slangs, the way they write up, there are emojis.
So you would say that AI literacy is also like a need of the hour right now.
Correct.
And it encompasses literally everything. Yes?
And currently we don't have in our education system, but it will eventually come. I think in future, AI literacy will definitely come.
Certainly. Alicia, what's your take on it?
No, I totally agree, and I think I totally agree with the point that AI literacy should actually be a part of our education system now. So, see, in terms of video, if you say visibility, I'll definitely be able to make out the difference between AI and a human content, and I will relate to a human content no matter what, right?
Okay.
I can consume an AI content, but I will always engage with a human content. In terms of written articles, I still feel ki yes, of course, you can make it like you can figure out, but there's still a certain part of audience who's unable to figure out, right?
Yes.
Because now the AI is also very smart. Right now, the most searched also was a statement that, hey, I want this, also make it human. Make it sound human.
Humanize it.
Yes, humanize it. So I think a lot, yes, while we, of course, maybe metro cities or maybe a lot of folks are able to identify it, but there's still a lag. A lot of people.
So it really does come down to AI literacy here, something that needs to be inculcated more and more into our curriculum. Yes, absolutely. Alicia, from a brand safety standpoint, okay, if a creator, a brand has partnered which is found to be heavily AI generated, what is the reputational risk that we are talking about? Are brands even thinking about this yet?
I'm sorry, so can you just repeat?
So basically what I'm trying to ask here is, if a creator, or a brand, they have partnered together and, one of their content is found to be heavily AI generated. What would you believe is the reputational risk here? Are brands having this conversation yet? I mean, is there some sort of paper, some sort of contract before the deal is signed where they are talking about this?
So I haven't, like whatever work I have done, I don't think so I have faced an issue on these lines. because we are very careful in terms of what the brand wants. So if the brand, and right now no request from a brand's end has come that I need an AI content, right? So while we do not have the brief, we ensure that the creators are not delivering AI content.
Right.
Yes, there are cases, maybe minor cases, we do get scripts from AI, right, where we can make out it's an AI generated chat GPT script. Yeah, but then we get back to the creator and we really request them to please add their USP, right? Why their followers follow them. So add that USP and then we send to the brand. So as an agency, I think this is our work, right? To make sure that what brand is demanding, what creators are doing, and bridge that gap. So I don't think so. We have ever faced this issue. Yeah.
Understood. Here's a question for both of you. You know, since we were on the topic about on audience trust, if we are being honest, audiences also kept watching reality TV shows knowing it was scripted. So are we really overestimating how much people actually care about authenticity, or is that actually there in the picture?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes,
you want to
please.
take this?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I just feel ki yes, while I think that reality shows are scripted, as for a lot of people, I'll say India is a very big economy, right?
Yes.
50% might know, yes, it's scripted, 50% still do not know it's scripted.
Okay.
And the folks who know also if it's scripted, for example, the relatability is not with the dialogues, it's with the human connection, right? So for example, I follow a reality show. For example, just lack of example because we have Sumit with us. Now I'm relatable to what he creates, right? I like the way he travels. I like the way he breaks down his travel plans, itinerary, etc. Does he not do his groundwork? Does he not do R&D? Of course, I am aware. But still, I am relatable and I am connected with him the way he does the storytelling. Right? So I think consumers are connected with the storytelling process or not exactly the scripted process. So yeah, I think that is the difference. People will always be connected with the storytelling process, which AI, of course, cannot build as of now. So that's always going to be a human intervention and human creativity, how to narrate what you are narrating in an engaging way.
Absolutely. Sumit, your take on it, please.
So yes, like coming to the content part, when we are actually creating the content, so AI will definitely help us in building that particular content. But at the end, just Alisha has mentioned that about the travel. I am the way I'm narrating the content, the way I'm producing that content. So, for example, if I am in Singapore, I was in Singapore last couple of months. So when I went to Singapore, I actually used AI. I also watched lots of reels on Instagram. So difference which I actually observed was the AI was actually hyping up the places.
Okay.
And the reality, the harsh truth was given by the creators.
Understood.
Though, because again, AI is taking the content which has been fed to them. So there is a new term called as GEO, Generative Engine Optimization.
Okay.
So now the tourism boards or maybe the brands working with tourism boards, they are using this GEO term.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you there. What exactly is GEO, if you could really explain our viewers?
Search Engine Optimization. We all know search engine SEO.
The SEO, yes.
So again, there's a new term which is called as Generative Engine Optimization.
Okay.
Copilot, where is Gemini, where is ChatGPT.
Okay.
So brands are now trying to optimize the generative AI searches.
Understood.
So, and this I actually felt in my recent Singapore trip, where there were lots of good reviews about a particular place, but I saw a video on Instagram where the creator was very harsh about that place, that this is actually the reality is. And it actually saved my time. It actually saved my money. It said a lot of things. So again, my trust towards human content increased again.
Understood. Alisha, I would like to ask you the next question here. You've really worked with creators professionally, right? Are you, as a professional in the industry, are you seeing that split? Creators who are leaning all the more towards AI and, they are really scaling fast and they are producing content in a bulk. So are you personally seeing that split in your industry?
Few, yes.
Okay.
And that also doesn't only depend basis content creation, right? So, for example, I don't, Sumit, help me with that creator who Nas Daily, right? So
Yes,
he's
absolutely.
an amazing creator. He started with normal travel, infotainment creator. Basically, he has an AI version, right? He used that AI version to work on content, but his brand related. So he has a brand where he's running a company of Nas, all that stuff. So, for example, if he needs to do a seminar and he needs at least 100 attendees, he will actually have a AI content go up. He'll have an AI story go up, which is basically he's accountable because it's his face.
Right.
AI avatar, right? So a lot of people are using, I won't say it's not changed their or like their primary content. No, for example, his primary content is still his face and human interactions,
Yes.
but he's building an over and above layer, which might be a business, which might be to expand, right?
Yeah.
Which might be a service industry, and to expand that because he has a creator value, he has a face value. He used his own face and created AI content where he's accountable because it's his face.
Understood.
And producing content in length. So I think when creators are trying to experiment with other business streams or other content streams is when they're using, but very less. I think the ratio is very less, but yes, people have started using that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Alicia and Sumit. In fact, I think the creator economy itself was built on the idea that internet would give everyone a voice, right? AI slop is testing whether that idea survives when, the loudest voices in the room are not really human. But the creators who will make it through this phase are not the ones who shout the loudest. In fact, they are the ones who stand on something specific, something authentic, something real. And I believe we have come down to that conclusion that something a machine cannot really manufacture or recreate. Where I'm talking about point of view, I'm talking about accountability, I'm talking about presence. Really, right? So these are very much still human advantages for now. And that would essentially bring us to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much, Alicia and Sumit. This was a wonderful chat. Thank you for speaking to AIM. And ladies and gentlemen, whoever has tuned in right now, I'm Antara. This is Point Break, and we continue to bring in conversations on how AI and tech is really nudging our choices in real life. Stay tuned. I'll catch you again tomorrow.